Hey guys, I'm Tiffany,
I'm Stephanie,
and we're
Sisters of the South.
back with another true crime story for you today. But before we get started, we just want to remind everyone to please hit that like button, subscribe for more true crime content every week, and if you hit that little notification bell, it'll let you know when your favorite sisters have a new video out for you. And of course, we can never forget to give a little shout out to our friends over at SoFly.
So fly,
So fly,
not so small.
not no more.
Yeah.
And I'll let Stephanie tell you all about them.
So Fly is a family-owned company here in Houston, Texas, and what they do is specialize in embroidery and laser work. So what they'll do is take your favorite accessory, such as a cap, a hoodie, a t-shirt, even a purse, or a tumbler, and they will accessorize it to your needs. If you want your name, your logo, maybe just your initials, they can take that and they can put that on whatever it is you want. So give them a try. We know that you'll love them. We also have a video just so you know how badass they are. So here we go.
All right, guys, we hope you enjoyed that video. Go check them out. Let them know we sent you. And if you buy a little something, send us a picture so we can get some ideas for our own closet.
Absolutely.
And we will put their information down in the description box. And with all of that being said, I will give it over to Stephanie to tell you about this story.
Absolutely. So let's get started here. We're going to jump into our time machine today and travel back to the year of 1963 and old Hollywood. Break out your colors because we have some coloring to do. You can also add some glitter because today's story definitely has glitter.
Oh, I love glitter.
Oh gosh, break it out because I do too. Oh, I waller in it. I love it. So the number one film at the box office in 1963 was Cleopatra, starring Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. The number one song was Surfin' in the USA by the Beach Boys.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
I do too. I remember Dad had that album. And they're carrying a surfboard, all of them. It's
My
so
kids
cool.
love the Beach Boys.
They're so cool.
They're still
today.
so fun.
Yeah. Minimum wage was $1.25 per hour, and the average annual income was $3,710.28, which is the equivalent to $31,465 today. The President of the United States was Lyndon B. Johnson, who became president after the assassination of John F. Kennedy in November of 1963. Francis Wayne Sinatra was born on January 10, 1944 in Jersey City, New Jersey, to Francis and Nancy Barbado Sinatra. He had two siblings, Nancy and Tina Sinatra. Unknown to little Frank, he was born to one of the most famous singers in the world, Old Blue Eyes himself, Frank Sinatra. The younger Sinatra was technically not a junior, as his father's middle name was Albert, but was nonetheless known as Frank Jr. throughout his life. Frank Jr. hardly ever saw his father, who was constantly on the road, either performing or working in films. Sinatra Jr. recalled wanting to become a pianist and songwriter from his earliest days. This leads us to December 8, 1963. A group of amateur criminals hoping to strike it rich engineered one of the most infamous kidnappings in American history. For several weeks, two 23-year-old former high school classmates from Los Angeles, Barry Keenan and Joe Amsler, had been following a 19-year-old singer from city to city, waiting to make their move. Their target, none other than Frank Sinatra Jr., son of one of the most famous singers in the world, Old Blue Eyes, of course, Frank Sinatra. Their plan was bold but simple. Snatch the young Sinatra and demand a hefty ransom from his wealthy father.
Well, of course, because it's that simple.
Yeah. Not only that, though, I mean, you're going weeks following this guy. Get a damn job. Because it costs money, right, to travel and follow. So what are you doing? Like, use your energy for something productive. The pair decided to strike on the evening of December 8th, 1963, just days after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Sinatra Jr., just beginning his career in music, was performing at Harrah's Club Lounge in Lake Tahoe on the border of California and Nevada. Around 9 p.m., he was resting in his dressing room with a friend when Keenan knocked on the door pretending to be delivering a package. Keenan and Amsler entered, tied up Sinatra's friend with tape, and blindfolded their victim. They took him out a side door to their waiting car. Now, they did all this to him and was able to slip out without anyone noticing that they've got him tied up. You would think that they'd maybe point a gun in his back or something and make him go out. I just found that odd that no one saw this. Obviously, he didn't have a bodyguard.
Well, yeah, and you've got to think I'm sure he's not on the first floor.
Well, possibly he is.
I don't know. Usually,
I mean, I don't know back then,
I don't know. The richer you are, the higher up you go.
right?
It's harder to get you out of the building.
However, they took him out. It wasn't just out the dressing room door and just around the corner. I'm sure it took him some time to get there, and no one's noticing this. It blew my mind. But no one noticed it.
No one worked there?
Right? So the singer's friend quickly freed himself and notified authorities. Roadblocks were set up and the kidnappers were actually stopped by police, but they bluffed their way through and drove on to their hideout in a suburb of Los Angeles. So not only did they get him out of the hotel, but they also were able to get through a police barrier. I mean, these guys must have been some sly talkers.
Sure.
Very charismatic. It's just, they're lucky.
Yeah.
They're lucky right now. So by 9:40, the FBI office in Reno was brought in on the case. Agents met with young Sinatra's father in Reno and his mother in Bel Air, California. The motive was presumed to be money. Well, of course. I mean, why else?
Why else?
Right, because he's not famous really at this time. I mean, he's known
got
because
the
of his
last
dad.
name.
Yeah, he's got the last name, and they want him because they know
His
that
family has money.
exactly. It's sad that they did this to him, but the FBI recommended that Sinatra wait for a ransom demand, pay it, and then allow the bureau to track the money and find the kidnappers. The following evening, Keenan called a third conspirator, John Irwin, who was to be the ransom contact. Irwin called the elder Sinatra and told him to await the kidnappers' instructions. On December 10th, he passed along the demand for $240,000 in ransom. Sinatra Sr. gathered the money and gave it to the FBI, which photographed it all and made the drop per Keenan's instructions between two school buses in Sepulveda, California during the early morning hours of December 11th. While Keenan and Amsler picked up the money, Irwin had gotten nervous and decided to free the victim. I mean, he's like, look, old Blue Eyes, he's part of the mob. He's going to kill me.
Maybe, sweetheart, you should have thought about that before kidnapping him.
Because now you're screwed, okay? You're screwed. But at least he didn't hurt him. At least he set him free. Sinatra Jr. was found in Bel Air after walking a few miles and alerting a security guard. To avoid the press, he was put in the trunk of the guard's patrol car and taken to his mother Nancy's home. Now, listen, he's been traumatized by being kidnapped.
So you put him.
And so he gets let free, and then he goes up to a security guard, and the security guard says, "Hey, get in the trunk of my car." I'd be like, dude, I'm not getting in the trunk of your car.
What? Again?
I would automatically be suspicious. Like, are you going to kidnap me too? But anyway.
This poor kid. I mean, I know he's not a kid, but come on.
Well, he kind of was.
Well,
I mean, a young man.
Yes.
With no experience.
I'm old, so of course he's a kid.
Yeah, exactly. So young Sinatra described what he knew to FBI agents, but he had barely seen two of the kidnappers and only heard the voice of the third conspirator. Still, the Bureau tracked the clues back to the house where Sinatra had been held in Canoga Park and gathered even more evidence there. So God knows what they left back there. These guys, to be roaming around following him, you'd think they'd have had a better plan. They're conspiring and, oh, let's get all this money. Somewhere along the lines, they forgot to cover their tracks. But no one ever said that thieves and thugs are very smart.
Thank
So
God.
these guys weren't very smart, at least at this point in the story. Meanwhile, with the FBI's progress being recounted in the press, the criminals felt the news tightening. Irwin broke first, spilling the beans to his brother, who called the FBI office in San Diego. Hours later, Keenan and Amsler were captured, and nearly all of the ransom was recovered, which, I'm glad that it was recovered. I mean, Frank Sinatra Sr. did the right thing to get his son back, although the third conspirator just let him go. But he did what he needed to do to get his son out of this trouble,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
At a widely publicized trial, Keenan and Amsler were sentenced to life in prison, while Irwin was sentenced to 75 years. But in reality, the trio served only a fraction of their total sentence.
Well, of course.
Subsequently, Amsler and Irwin served only 3.5 years.
Oh,
Keenan,
my gosh.
4.5 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy? But it's California.
Well, I understand. I knew
Yeah.
that going in, but okay, you're going to sentence them to 75 years
But only do 3.5 or 4.
and life in prison.
Yeah.
But they only get like 3 or 4 years. I mean, come on now. There's a lot of numbers in between.
A little moderation would be good.
Why even sentence them at this point? Say, man, you're on probation.
I mean,
Don't be
right?
kidnapping anyone.
House arrest. I don't know. Following his release, Keenan became an incredibly powerful figure in the world of real estate, and in 1999 was offered $1.5 million by Columbia to recount the story of the kidnapping on film. However, Frank Sinatra Jr. filed a lawsuit that led to a court ruling forbidding any of the conspirators to profit financially from their crimes, a final victory against a man whose crimes were motivated as much by class anxiety as they were by desperation.
Well, that's
Good
oh
for
my
him.
gosh. Yeah, good
Yeah,
for him because
because
that's ridiculous.
look, you already got a deal, okay? A deal of a lifetime. You got set free out of a life sentence 3.5, 4 years later. And now you want to make 1.5 million off of your story of being a crook? That's crazy. And listen, I'd have done the same thing. I
Yeah.
don't blame him. Because it's actually, to me, Frank Sinatra Jr.'s story, not the criminal's
That's right.
story.
It
And it was
is.
his story to tell.
That's right.
So I don't blame him.
He's the victim.
That's right. So, although the defense tried to argue that Frank Sinatra Jr. had engineered the kidnapping as a publicity stunt,
Okay.
the FBI had strong evidence to the contrary. The clincher was a confession letter written earlier by Keenan and left in a safe deposit box. In the end, Keenan, Amsler, and Irwin were all convicted. So,
Oh my.
yeah. So they were convicted. So they got it on their record. But in the end, they didn't serve a whole lot of time.
No.
The two guys that kidnapped him, I mean, they just don't sound right in the head, and they didn't plan anything through, which is good. They weren't very smart at what they were doing. They weren't smart criminals. But then they called in the third guy who was goofball.
I think they were all kind of goofballs.
Well, they were so young.
Exactly.
And, we normally do these true crime stories where there's demise at the end and
Mhm.
someone loses their life. In this situation, that didn't happen. And every once in a while, it's good to remember that not all true crime stories end with someone dying or losing their life.
True.
But Frank Sinatra Jr. is still a victim of being taken
Of
advantage
crime.
of and of crime, someone trying to take advantage of his name and make money off of that. I don't think that this was a hoax set up by
No.
Sinatra Jr. I just don't. I think it went wrong in so many ways that
Well, that would have been embarrassing.
that would have been so embarrassing. So, he wasn't missing for very long. But yeah, I don't think it was a hoax. I think it would have been a little bit more elaborate than that. So that's my opinion. I think it's just three young guys who were just too stupid to make a plan and follow through.
Bored.
So yeah. But out of the three, one, they got out of their jail sentence really early, and out of the three became very successful.
You
So,
know, they weren't very smart, but it sounds like they were really charming. Could get out of a lot.
well, there'll be a picture up that you'll be able to see of them, and we're talking a long time ago. They don't look very charming to me.
Well, no, but I'm saying there are those people that just know how to get out of things.
Yeah, they usually have a lot of charisma,
Absolutely.
and they
Ugh,
manipulate.
it's
It's a
so annoying.
possibility. But yeah, let
I'm
us know
not
what you
really a
think.
fan of those people. So you're like,
Yeah,
okay, come on. What do you want?
I pretty much just walk off of those conversations. Like, you're too much. I'm not willing to be played today. Thanks. So
Ah.
yeah, let us know what you think, guys. Do you think it was a hoax, or do you think that was just three dumb criminals that just didn't know how to make a plan?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I think. But
Yep.
let us know. We'd like to hear from you. But guys, until the next episode, please remember to see the good and stay in perfectly perfect.
Bye, guys.
All right, thank you.